at the end of the second temple period. It means since the 3rd century BC, the Jewish society started to divide into different sects. And it happened because many things, because they came back to the land of Israel and they started to make a debate about the Torah and about their religious law and who's supposed to be the high priest, who's supposed to go to the temple, who is not. I remind you that in the second temple period, there were many new things in Judaism. 2 things that we will talk about them today. One is a mikveh, a ritual bath, that we don't know about it in the first temple period, but when it started in the second temple period, there was a debate. How big it's supposed to be, who's supposed to go in, who's supposed to be, is it men and women, all that. They have a lot of debates about everything, and we'll see many mikveh here. So one thing. The second thing, which is new in Judaism, we talked about it, is a synagogue. We talked about it in Masada. What do you do in a synagogue? How you build a synagogue? Do we all sit together in a synagogue? What do you do? It's only for Saturdays, or it's a daily place for the community? All that and a lot of other things became crucial to the Jewish society in the second temple period, and it divided into sects. And we know a lot about these sects from 2 main sources, or maybe 3 main sources. One is Josephus Flavius, and he talked a lot about these sects. The second one is the Maccabean books. The Maccabean books talk mostly about themselves as Hasmoneans, but they talk about other sects like priests and more. And the third,
Romans.
New Testament
Scroll.
and the third main source of the second temple period
Talmud.
is the Dead Sea Scrolls
Scrolls,
that
yeah.
are found here. Okay? That we'll talk about it. But look, something like 10 years ago, I don't remember the year, 5 years, 10 years ago, there was one of the newspapers in Israel made something difficult. He took a lot of archaeologists to one place, and archaeology from prehistory, archaeologists from Iron Age, archaeologists from Second Temple period, the Byzantine, and they told him, please make a list of the 10 most important archaeology places in Israel. Each one had to make a list. So those of prehistory made a list of prehistory places, like what?
Carmel Mountain.
Carmel Valley, okay?
מערות.
Nachal Me'arot, okay, Me'arot, the Caves Valley. What else in prehistory in Israel?
هنوم لا كمان لا هذا
בית שאן.
Okay, Machtesh,
First
Beit Shana,
temple.
Libid, but okay, Cave of Treasures in Mishmar Valley. Okay, what is the most ancient site in Israel? No,
קומראן.
the ancient.
No, the Carmel. The
Ancient,
Carmel
a
Cave.
1.5 million years ago.
ג'ריקו.
No. Ubadia, near Bet Zera.
الأبدية.
Ubadia, 1.5 million years ago. Okay, that's how started the Israeli Museum. The archaeological section started in Ubadia. That's the most ancient place in Israel of prehistory. And we have the Kavza cave in Nazareth, and more. Very important places. And we need some very important places of, let's say, Bronze Age. What do we have in Israel?
The cave in Jericho.
Okay, Jericho, it's good for everything. Okay, Jericho.
Neolithic.
Oh, what you know? Something found in Jericho.
Tel Sultan. You have Tel
Okay, so what else? Leave Jericho.
Tel Arad.
Tel Arad. Chatzor.
Hatzor, Megiddo.
Okay. Megiddo, Be'er Sheva.
Bet She'an.
Okay, Bet She'an. Okay, what do we, if we need good size for Iron Age, what do we have?
We have.
Ir David.
Yes,
All the Shfela tells.
Also
Okay, it's
Hatzor.
easy.
Tel Jezreel.
All the biblical tells
Hatzor.
that we need. Yeah, all
Also
of them.
continuing.
Okay, if we need good places to see in our eyes, Second Temple period, where would we go?
Marisha.
Maresha, which is a good option.
Herodium.
Tzipori.
Caesarea, Tzipori.
روديوم برضه بنفع روديوم سكتها.
Okay, Jerusalem, of course.
Bet She'arim.
What else?
Bet She'arim.
Bet She'arim, it's a little bit later.
Late it's
Roman.
200.
Yutfat, okay, not really a lot of things to see, but it's a good site.
القناطر.
Gamla is very good.
أم القناطر أم العمدان.
All the fortresses, we'll talk about them today. All the fortresses, like we've been in Masada. Okay, and something else, if we want something to see. Crusader sites in Israel.
A lot.
Abu Ghosh.
Crusader, Akko.
You have
The church of Abu Ghosh.
We're a little bit big.
You have a fortress.
Akli,
Caesarea.
Apollonia,
بلفوار.
Caesarea.
بلفوار مزبوط كمان بلفوار.
Akko, we said.
كوخاف يردن.
Kochava Yarden,
بلفوار
Kafar.
one of the important.
Okay, okay,
Imam with Abu
okay.
Ghosh.
So we all archaeologists, and we all know everything because we're tour guides and we know everything. And they sat together, and each one of the archaeologists made a list of 10 important sites in Israel, and then the journalist told them, now please sit together, all of you, and make a list and decide what are the 10 most important archaeological sites in Israel. You know, it's difficult to sit together, each one from his perspective, to decide what they couldn't decide about the 10, but they all decide one. The most important place in Israel is Qumran. They all accept
Agree.
this place because, not because of the Khirbet Qumran, not because of walls, because of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, because of the scrolls that have been found in the caves, in the cliffs. None of the scrolls found in Qumran, in the site here. None of them. All of them, more than 900, found in caves. We will talk about it, but it's all around, and they all accept this as the most important place in Israel. Why? We will talk about it later, but this is the place. When we talk about this place and there's no war, it's so busy and crowded, this place, that since 8:30 in the morning, you can't find place to park in your bus all day long because it's so crowded, this site. And we'll try to see what we see here. Most of the things are not here in Israeli Museum. And what we can talk about and show our travelers, what we can show and what we need. I'm telling you, we're not going to see scrolls. It means what? It means that we need
To find
guiding
something.
aids. We need to bring something with us. Okay, to show the people what do we mean about scrolls. We have to take something with us. Okay, don't let them to imagine. It's impossible to imagine what's a scroll from the Second Temple period. Bring it with you. Something. Make a scroll. Make with them a scroll. Something. We do everything.
Show them at the Israeli Museum.
If you have the time.
Yeah.
And if not,
Bring a
if
picture.
you go here, if you have one day, okay? One day, Allenby and back.
Read the
Now you
Bible
go here,
verse.
you go to Jerusalem and back.
شو أعطاك
Okay.
روحي.
So let's come back to what we started. In the Second Temple period, the Jewish community, the Jewish society in Israel started to divide it into different sects that we know. some of them.
Pharisees, Sadducees,
Sadducees,
and Essenes, Pharisees,
maybe
and
here.
Sadducees.
Maybe
Pharisees.
the Essenes were here. What else?
Pharisees,
Pharisees,
Zealots.
Sadducees,
Zealots, it's a sect.
Zealots,
Salat, wallah.
and, and we
The
know
Matzada.
Hasmoneans, and we know the Baitusis. We know plenty of them, and maybe the Essenes lived here. I'm telling maybe because we have one very problematic thing. The word Essenes in Hebrew, Esseim, the word never mentioned in any source of Second Temple period. None of the scrolls you can find the word, even not in Josephus Flavius, even not in the New Testament. So it's a problematic. Who were the Essenes and what were their name? If they were, what were their name? Maybe, as we prefer to do in archaeology or history, we prefer the Dead Sea sect. Maybe the Dead Sea sect, or
Sakari.
it's the in Hebrew it mentioned much better, but the together sect. In Hebrew, kat hayachad. Okay, hayachad, together, is a word that mentioned many times in the scrolls. There's a whole scroll that talk about the yachad, together, but Essenes never mentioned. So maybe we don't know the name, but the word Essenes, the first time that it mentioned as Essenes, only in the Middle Ages.
But you,
So
are you
what's the
saying,
problem?
I'm trying to understand, you're saying that the group that we typically refer to as the scenes may have been the Katayachad,
Yes.
or they may have been
Something else.
the Dead Sea sect. And
Dead Sea sect or Kat Hayachad is maybe the same. The word, probably they never mention it. Yes.
What about Pliny? Didn't Pliny use the word Essene or no?
No.
Didn't
Because he
Josephus
says
use
that
the word?
there's a group of these people here, and Gideon is below, and then Masada. What did he call these people?
He said there's a group of people that came from Jerusalem and they live near the Dead Sea.
On the
Yeah.
west side,
And he said above the Dead Sea.
right?
That's he said. He considered the word above, forta. And he used the word forta, above the Dead Sea. But he never mentioned Essenes.
Didn't Josephus mention the scenes?
No, Josephus, I remind you, wrote in Greek. Okay, he never wrote no in Hebrew or in Latin. And what he said is in Greek oizotos. Okay, only in the Middle Ages the word oizotos, which means something like, in Hebrew it's Hasidim. Okay, something like religious people. Someone made oizotos from Greek to Hebrew as Esseim. But just because it's
Similar.
here similar, but it's not. So we don't really know what is Esseim.
Sakari, where it comes from.
Sakari, it's we know about it because it's in Greek. And we know about the Sakari. Sakari is a knife.
Okay, so
a knife.
it's not the same like people that go
Sika, it's a knife.
going through going
No,
to
no.
Jerusalem to do some kind of like
Yeah, but they're not the same people probably. They're not the same people. We'll go up a little bit and we'll see. But anyway, one of these sects in the Second Temple period came to Judean desert, and we consider maybe that those people sat in Qumran and wrote these scrolls. Why here? Is it a good place to isolate, to be alone in that place? That what they wanted? That what Josephus said? Please go and be alone. We don't know. One thing, when Josephus wrote about the Essenes. He said that's a kind of a perfect society that left Jerusalem. They hated what happening in Jerusalem. They hate it. They don't like
The Hellenization.
not only the Hellenization.
Calendar. It's
but
something with the calendar
they,
as well.
They had problem with the calendar.
Calendar, yes.
They had problem with the high priest in the temple. And they decided to leave everything and go to the desert. Why to the desert? Like the monks.
Solitude.
Yeah.
Monasticism.
To hear God.
To be, that's right, to be you and God. And that's all. There's nothing.
Monomachos.
There's nothing. And they came to the desert, as Josephus said, to be alone. And one of the questions is does Qumran is a good place to be alone? If you go from Jerusalem to Qumran, to be alone. Okay, let's go up and see if it's a good location.